Hello everyone, a very good morning to all of you. Today is 30th of August and I welcome you all to Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So in today's video, we are going to discuss entire analysis of the Hindu. We'll take all articles along with background as well as way forward. And I would also like to tell you that you can download the synoptic explainer notes of our session from Telegram channel. Link for our Telegram channel is given in description box in YouTube, or directly you can reach Telegram and can search there channel by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil, and you can download explainer notes from there. Now first of all, let's take overview of newspaper so that we can understand that which articles are actually important in today's newspaper. So here we have daily edition of Hindu newspaper, and on first page center slashes LPG prices largely due to election season. Nothing much important, you are not required to track this particular development, that how much pricing has been reduced. Okay, when will you restore Jammu and Kashmir statehood? So we have seen that in 2019 status of Jammu and Kashmir got changed. Article 370, which provided special status to Jammu and Kashmir, it got diluted. Right now hearing in Supreme Court is going on in this particular matter, and every other day some arguments, counter arguments are made. Okay, so that is something that has come. So when the Union Territory status was given to Jammu and Kashmir in 2019 after status change, it was said that soon we will make it as a full-fledged state. So when it will be done, this thing is there. However, again, not very much important for exam point of view. Then after that, Manipur House ends in 48 minutes. Fine. Gujarat hikes OBC quota in local bodies. Now, when we talk about the local bodies, 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act provided this particular thing, that in urban local bodies or local bodies, OBCs can be given representation. And in this capacity, earlier representation was 10% in local bodies, and now it has been increased to 27% to cater to proportionately the share of OBC people. Okay, so this has been done on basis of the Justice Jhaveri Commission report. Again, moving on in this particular direction, guys, city section, we have largely the regional local issues that are there. Nothing much important is there in this particular direction. We'll move on. And one important article we have here, that is Reroute rail track through Gibbon sanctuary. This article will take for exam. Then after that, again, we have these tenders, advertisements and all such things. Coming to editorial section, the Election Commission autonomy in the crosshairs, will take this article. Article is talking about recent bill that has been brought in Rajya Sabha for reforming election appointment procedure of CEC and EC. Then moving on here, on sidelines, a new model. So basically recently we have seen that in Gurugram, in New region, violence broke down, communal rights broke down. However, later words, when requests were made for religious processions, it was denied, largely to ensure congenial situation, law and order. This thing has been said that such kind of approach should be followed. However, article doesn't contain much of academic or exam related relevant substance, so I will not advise you to go too much in detail and following this article. This article is important. Then moving on, India and the hurdle of convincing the voter, will take this article. All for small, this article talks about the G20, under which trade summit has been held. So what are 5 key takeaways from trade summit in G20? We'll cover that from this particular article. Then moving on, next page, gig workers bill. So this article talks about Rajasthan's gig workers bill. So what are shortcomings in that? What are key things which have not been addressed? We'll take this particular article. Then further moving on, this is a state of play article on Karnataka, the commission's millstone. So the article is talking about the uncleared bills of civic contractors, and largely article has a political undertone. Fine. Then further moving on, data point, the cost of meals rose by 65% in 5 years. Wages has just increased by 37%, and because of that particular thing, food inflation is way high. People are not able to afford nutritious meals, etc. So here what they have done, in this particular entire article, they have given pricing breakup. Okay, grams needed for 2 thalis, cost of a kg, 5 different dates have been given. Okay, no need to go too much detail and doing and to carry too much of microscopic analysis. Then we have this text and context section, which contains good articles for UPSC, but today it talks about dissecting Pakistan's cipher saga Okay, so Pakistan's politics and all such things are being taken up. Again, guys, no need to go too much in detail in political controversy going in Pakistan, different sections that are being used in Pakistan for containing this protest, etc. No need to go that too much in detail. Okay, then further on next page we have text and context from the archive article. From the archive means here they publish old articles that were published 2, 3, 4 years back. So this particular article is from 2019, 4-year-old article. The Jammu and Kashmir bifurcation and integration without integrity. So it largely is talking about that how Article 370 got repealed and all such legal technical details are being discussed. But as of now, I will not advise you to go too much in detail because this matter is sub judice. So as Supreme Court will be coming on that particular thing. Okay. Moving on in this particular action then, India lodges strong protest with China. So recently what has happened? China has shown the parts of Arunachal Pradesh in their map. This is after Prime Minister met Xi Jinping on sidelines of BRICS. Okay, Aksai Chin, Arunachal are inalienable. After that, IAS officers graft corruption in Jal Jeevan mission. However, no need to go too much in detail in this particular direction. Then we have here political statements, fine tenders, etc. Okay, there is one article, 41.1% MG Narega workers out of Aadhar will understand what is this Aadhar bridge payment system. ABPS, cyclone frequency may rise over Indian Ocean, Indian coast, will take this article. Then Pragyan confirms the sulfur near south pole of moon, will take this particular article. Okay. Dispel doubts among tribe over sickle cell disease test. Okay, so basically guys, when we talk about the sickle cell disease, it impacts large number of tribal people. Okay, and basically recently tests have been done where it has created suspicion in tribal people. Okay, then coming to world page, Pakistan court suspends Imran Khan sentence. Okay, Shehbaz slams Imran. Okay, so largely article talks about political developments going in Pakistan. Understand this particular thing that when we talk about world page or international page, I have told you this many number of times that on international page you need to track those articles where either Indian interest is provided or which contains to India's foreign policy or India's international relations or such kind of things. Every development going on in political front is not important. Okay, more than 1000 schools destroyed in Ukraine because of Russia-Ukraine war that is going on. Then monsoons may lift food prices, and then largely we have these political trends here, and after this there is a sports page. Okay, in science also there is nothing much important article that has been there. Okay, so that is all about overview of today newspaper. Now let's discuss all relevant articles one by one in detail. Okay, let's take the relevant articles. So this is Synoptic Notes that I told you, which you can download from Telegram channel. Here in every class we start with GS quotation, and these quotations or ideas can be used to complement your answers in exam GS 1, 2, 3, 4 paper or in essay. So today we'll take quotation from Herbert Hoover. So Herbert Hoover says that the advancement of knowledge must be translated into increasing health and education for children. So we have seen that as we have done technological advancements, scientific advancements, you need to question that whether it is improving social indicators or not, whether health of people, education of children specifically is getting improved or not. And even Gandhiji in his theory of 7 social sins provided that the science without humanity is a sin. Science which does not solve the problem of humanity is a sin. Gandhiji provided this thing. So ultimate focus should be in improvement in social conditions, and the same thing has been provided by Herbert Hoover. This particular quotation you can use in GS paper number 1 and GS paper number 2, specifically social justice. Okay, that is about it. Now let's take first article from today. Reroute rail track through Gibbon sanctuary. Okay, now this particular article will take with respect to prelims examination. This article will take with respect to prelims examination. Okay, so basically here we are going to see the Gibbon sanctuary and also the status of Gibbon and certain basic facts we are going to see. So first of all, what has happened recently? Primatologist primatologists, they have suggested rerouting a railway line or building a canopy over a railway line in Holongpur Gibbon Sanctuary. Now, number one, who are primatologists? So, primatologists are the ones who specialize in study of primates, Now, certain things you need to understand here before we go in this particular article. So, this particular article is actually talking about Hollock Gibbon. Now, what is Hollock Gibbon? Hollock Gibbon is a particular type of ape. It is a particular type of ape, and it is India's only ape. Now, here you can see the picture of Hollock Gibbon. You can see their picture. What is status of Hollock Gibbon? Its status is endangered as per IUCN red list. As per IUCN red list, their status is endangered. Now, when we talk about Hollock Gibbon, they are arboreal creatures. What are arboreal creatures? Those creatures which spend most of their time on trees. They will jump from one tree to another tree. So largely they spend their time on canopy, branches of tree. They don't come usually on ground. So they are arboreal creatures. Now understand, when we talk about the right now surviving apes, there are 19 species of apes in entire world. 19. There are 19 species of ape in entire world, and out of 19, one is found in India. Which one is found in India? Hollock Gibbon. And where this particular gibbon is found in substantial numbers, it is found in Holongpur Gibbon Sanctuary. Holongpur Gibbon Sanctuary. Where this sanctuary is? This sanctuary is located in eastern Assam in Jorhat. Now, the issue that is going on here is that there is a railway line. Suppose this is a sanctuary. A railway line is passing from sanctuary. And as this railway line is passing, it has divided this sanctuary in two unequal parts. Now, I told you that they jump from tree to tree, and as this railway line is going on, so basically the gibbon population, it has become isolated. So therefore, conservationist, primatologist, they are providing this particular thing that already there is a lot of habitat fragmentation that has happened, and because of this habitat loss fragmentation, population of the Hollock Gibbon is going down, and you can see already they have been given endangered status. So to conserve this particular thing, they have said that an artificial canopy bridge should be developed. What is this artificial canopy bridge? Now suppose this is the railway line that is going on. So over this railway line, an artificial bridge should be developed so that gibbons can move from this place to this place and from this place to this place, vice versa. This is something which will not disrupt their habitat and which will not also disturb their population. Okay, so as they are arboreal animals, they are this particular canopy can help them. Okay, moreover, understand this particular thing, guys, that as I have told you here, I have given you this particular example. Suppose this is Holongpur Gibbon Sanctuary. This is a railway line that is going across this, and what we have done, we have divided the gibbon population in two parts. Now, if you don't develop a canopy bridge here, what will happen? The population of gibbon on this particular side, they will interbreed with each other, and over a period of time, they will develop a very similar gene pool. And whenever a member of a species will have similar gene pool, they will become susceptible to similar disease. Understand this thing, genetic diversity is very much important for the long-term survival and long-term viability of a species, because genetic diversity, difference in genes provide special immunities, fine, and all such kind of things. But if genetic diversity is reduced, if genetic similarity comes, all are susceptible to one disease. So developing this canopy will also ensure genetic diversity in the animals. So this is all about this particular article. So many times in prelims questions, can be asked. For example, recently Holongpur Gibbon Sanctuary was in news. It is located where? Nagaland, Assam, Kerala, Jharkhand. Likewise, option is there. You need to understand it is in Assam. And this is the only ape in India and status is endangered. Okay. And what are the arboreal animals feature? That also you need to understand. Now, moving on to next article, cyclone frequency may rise over Indian coast from the warming of Pacific study. Now, this particular article you can see for prelims geography section, for prelims geography, as well as this particular article can also be seen with respect to the GS paper number 1 geographical phenomena. GS paper number 1 geographical phenomena. Okay. Now, first of all, before going on in this particular article, I would like to give you some basic background information. Once we understand that background information, we'll go in detail of this particular article. Now, basically guys, article talks about that. Now basically when we talk about tropical cyclones are the ones which specifically emerge in tropical regions. Now though tropical cyclones are frequently they are coming every year during monsoons, tropical cyclones are there, but tropical cyclones which are specifically erupting near equator. Okay. So, which type of we are talking about tropical cyclones, and in tropical cyclones, specific those cyclones which originate near equator. Now, their number was actually less in past few years. Okay. Now, tropical cyclones are coming every year, but tropical cyclones specifically emerging near equator, their number has been less. And when we talk about specifically originating near equator, large major cyclone was Cyclone Okchi. Last major cyclone was Cyclone Okchi. It devastated largely the regions of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Sri Lanka, and it came in 2017. Their numbers have not been that frequent. Why their number have not been frequent? Okay, that something we'll understand. And now there is a new study that has got published, and this study provides that now number of tropical cyclone which specifically emerging under near equator, their number will now go up. Why their number will go up? What is the reason? So according to a study that has been published in Nature, they provide that two developments are responsible for this. Development number 1, Pacific Decadal Oscillation, PDO, and number 2 is global warming. Number 2 is global warming. Now we all know already global warming, that we are emitting lot of carbon, and as we are emitting lot of carbon, what is happening? The average temperature of Earth is going up, so global warming anyhow is increasing. But what is this Pacific Decadal Oscillation? This is a new word that we have just heard. Now guys, few concepts let's understand. Now first let's understand the concept of El Nino. Let's understand the concept of El Nino. You might have read about El Nino already in your geography, but let me give you a very brief idea. So here we have South America, here we have South America, and specifically here we have Peru. Specifically we have here Peru. Okay, here we have Australia, here we have Indian subcontinent, and here somewhere here is are India. Now what happens in normal year? In normal year, trade winds, they will drive equatorial water currents, and as trade winds will move in this particular direction, what will happen? The warm water here, it will get concentrated around this particular region, and as warm water will be concentrated in this particular region, what will happen? It will drive more evaporation of water, and as more evaporation of water will happen, this particular region will receive more rain. This particular region will receive more rain, good monsoons will be there, normal monsoons will be there, and India will receive normal monsoons. So this is normal year. But some years what happen? Trade winds, they become weak. Now what is the exact reason that these trade winds become weak? That particular thing has not been explained with consensus as of now. Okay, so these trade winds become weak, and because of that they are not able to drive these equatorial currents and the water which usually collects here, it gets concentrated in this particular region. And as this water gets concentrated in this particular region, what happens? There are abnormally high rain in South America, particularly around Peru coast. Okay, and at the same time there will be very weak and subdued monsoons in India as well as in this entire region. So this is El Nino year. Okay, now when we talk about El Nino phenomena, so this particular phenomena repeats every 3-4 years, okay, but there is a long-term phenomena, and this long-term phenomena is called as the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. Now what is this Pacific Decadal Oscillation? Very simple concept, not a complicated concept. Let's understand this thing. So basically they provide this particular thing that over 20 to 30 years, temperature of a Pacific Ocean is measured. Okay, and over a 20 to 30 year period, we find this particular thing that the Pacific Ocean's temperature, it gets changes. So there is warm phase, there is a warm phase of Pacific Ocean, and then there is a cool phase of Pacific Ocean. Now what happens in warm phase? In warm phase, temperature of Pacific Ocean will be high. In warm phase, temperature of Pacific Ocean will be high. And as the temperature of Pacific Ocean is high, what happens here, okay, in the region around India, Australia, Indian subcontinent, okay, Indian Ocean, their temperature will relatively be cooler than normal. Fine. But in other years, what happens? Opposite happens. What happens? Pacific Ocean becomes cool, and the region around Australia, India, Indian Ocean, okay, this particular region becomes warm. It becomes warm. Now you know this particular thing that tropical cyclones, they are fueled by hot water or high temperature water. When the temperature of water will be high, there will be more evaporation. It will fuel up more intense cyclones. Okay, so understand this particular thing that this Pacific Decadal Oscillation also contributes to cyclone as and intensity. Now you tell me that more warm water is congenial for cyclone or cool water is congenial for cyclone. So we have this basic understanding that warm water is more congenial, more favorable for the formation of cyclone. More temperature, more intense cyclones will be there. And when the warm water is there around India, Indian subcontinent, it is during the cool phase. It is during the cool phase. Cool phase of what? Cool phase of Pacific. So understand, opposite relation is there. Cool phase is of Pacific. When Pacific will be in cool phase, basically this particular region will be warm, and when this particular region will be warm, in this region, that is where India is located, more cyclones will come. Now basically what article is providing? Article is providing this particular thing that this PDO, this particular cycle, it gets repeated around every 20 to 30 years. Article is talking about this particular thing that see, period between 1981 to 2010, there were 43% less cyclones. Period 1951 to 1980, there were more cyclone. Why? Because PDO was in positive phase. Okay, 1951 to 1980, okay, PDO was in positive phase. Okay, so the number of equatorial cyclones was 43% less in the period from 1981 to 2010 compared to 1951 to 1980. Okay, so why here the cyclones were less? Because PDO was in coming, just let me show you only. So why? Because PDO here was in warm phase. Where warm phase? It was in warm phase in Pacific. So if it is in warm phase in Pacific, what will happen? It will be cool here around India, and as it will be cool here around India, what will happen? Cyclones will reduce. So therefore period of 1981 to 2010, less cyclones were there. But now article is saying this particular thing that this that this PDO cycle is changing. This PDO cycle is changing, and now this PDO is entering in the cool phase, negative phase. It is entering in the cool phase, and because of that particular thing, cyclones around India will increase. So this is something which has been provided in this particular entire article. Okay, fine. And along with that, there will also be global warming that is contributing. So guys, I hope that you have understood it. Nothing complicated. We have tried to make it very simple. Okay, so just see this particular picture and you will get that particular idea. Okay, one more thing, the dates, years are approximate. So Hindu, it reports that 1981 to 2010 was a period when cyclone were less. Some places it will be reported 1979 also. Some places this 2010 will become 2004, 5, 2001. So because these years are approximate. Now moving on in next article. Pragyan confirms sulfur near south pole of moon, search on for hydrogen. So we have seen that recently 23rd of August, Chandrayaan 3 made a landing on moon, and it was a successful landing, and post landing Vikram module got landed, and from Vikram Pragyan, the rover, it has rolled out, and rover is carrying studies on the surface of moon, and it has done some chemical analysis. Which chemical analysis? Libs study has been done, and by that study it has confirmed that there is presence of sulfur and many other elements have also been found. Now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, science and technology, key findings of Chandrayaan 3, as well as for prelims examination also we can find this, we can use this particular article. So basically what article is providing? So article provides this particular thing, that Pragyan, the rover of Chandrayaan 3, it has carried laser induced breakdown spectroscopy, LIBS. Okay, it has carried laser induced breakdown spectroscopy test, and by that particular test it has been able to confirm that there is presence of sulfur. There is presence of sulfur on south pole of moon. Now let's understand in little bit more detail that what this LIBS test is all about. So basically in this LIBS test, what will happen? Pragyan first of all will collect some sample of rock, some sample of soil, and as this particular sample of rock or soil will be collected, a high intensity laser pulse will focused on this particular rock. Okay, and what will happen? So what will happen? As high intensity laser pulse will be beamed on this particular sample. Okay, basically then after that particular thing, what will happen? A minute. So yes, so it will analyze the composition of material by exposing them to intense laser pulse. Okay, this high energy laser pulse will be focused on the surface of a material, and then the light will be observed. So light's wavelength will be observed. And on the basis of the wavelength of the reflected light, it will be observed that what is the chemical composition of this particular rock, chemical composition of this particular mineral. So by that particular thing, they identify different chemical compositions and different minerals, and by this LIBS they have found that there is presence of all these particular elements on moon. For example, they have found the presence of aluminium, sulfur, calcium, iron, chromium, titanium. Okay, also they are now investigating whether there is also hydrogen on moon or not. So this is study that is going on. And because of success of Chandrayaan 3, government has also recently decided that August 23 would be celebrated as National Space Day to mark Chandrayaan 3's landing on moon. So this is all that has happened, and all these are the important aspects of this particular article. Fine. Guys, I hope that you have understood it. If you have any question, you may please ask. Okay. Now, moving on to next article. All for small. Now, this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 3, issues related to Indian economy. Now, so basically, guys, many times we have discussed in past that right now India is hosting G20. India is chairing G20, and within G20, a lot of meetings will happen on different themes: environment, climate change, okay, energy transition, electric mobility, business, okay, climate finance, everything. Now, what has happened recently, this under the G20, trade and investment ministers meeting has happened. Now, when we talk about the G20 countries, you know that these are the major economies of world, and G20, they represent 80% of world's economic output. Three quarters, around 75% of trade flows is within G20, and three fifth, around 60% of population, roughly 63 to 64% population, it lives in G20. And world's 60% population, world's 75% of trade flows, and world's 80% of economic output worth of countries are now meeting under India's chairmanship. So this is important for India. Now, under this particular G20, one particular issue crisis is going on, as it was there last year in Bali also. What is this? The world is right now divided. Within G20, you have West and US, and within G20, you have China and Russia. So West and US, they want to issue a formal statement where they want to condemn Russia purely for Russia-Ukraine war. But China, Russia doesn't allow that particular statement. So basically, a comprehensive communique was derived, was achieved, was scuttled. Fine, where they did not issued any reference about the Ukraine war. Okay. Now, 5 important key takeaways have been derived from trade ministers meet under G20. Now, what are 5 key takeaways? 5 great agreements that have happened under trade ministers meet. Let's discuss them one by one. First is dialogue on global standards to bridge regulatory divergences across country. Now, guys, regulatory mechanisms are different on different products, different electronic items. So regulatory standards of India are different, Europe are different, America are different. So understand, because of this particular thing, a lot of dissonance, a lot of confusion develops. One particular product which is compliant in India might not be compliant in Europe. What is compliant in Europe might not be compliant in Japan. So we need to ensure that there is a global standard on compliances of different product which are followed similarly in all the countries. So this is something that has been agreed. Now, guys, understand this particular thing. India's MSME industries might be making a product which is suitable as per Indian standards, but they cannot export it because standards of America are different. So one global standard has to be developed, and regulatory differences are needed to be reduced. Second thing that has been achieved, compendium on best practices for mutual recognition of qualification. Now, basically, doctors who are trained in India, they want to go and they want to practice in America. Doctors who had taken education in America, they want to practice in Europe. So basically, many number of times degrees and qualifications are not recognized across all the countries. Now, in this particular capacity, what will happen? Mutual recognition will happen. India will recognize degrees of USA, USA will recognize degrees of some other countries, and likewise. So for the professionals who are working in medicine, doctors, paramedics, professionals working in law, nursing industry, their degrees will be mutually recognized. Then third that has come here is to map global value chains. So right now, guys, if a product today is being manufactured in India, we are importing its inputs, we are importing its components from many countries. From China, we are importing something. From Taiwan, we are importing something. From Europe, we are importing something. So every country has this particular kind of a pattern only. Anything they are making, they are importing, or they are dependent on value chains which are located in different parts of the world. In 2020, we saw this particular thing, that as lockdown came, what happened? These global supply chains, they got disrupted, and semiconductor shortage came, car parts shortage came, all these problems came. So these global value chains, global supply chains, they need to be identified, that where the weakness lies, so that during shocks, during pandemic, during crisis, these shocks don't come and they don't impact economy. So Value chains, supply chains will be mapped, and wherever there are the weaknesses, that weakness will be identified and that weakness will be resolved so that the economies, manufacturing don't stops. Then fourth is digitalization of trade documents. So when you are doing some import and export, a lot of documents are needed. So all those documents will be digitized so that less time is wasted while importing or exporting the product. But it has talked about this particular thing, that government filings, now government filings, government documents, their digitization has not been talked. Okay. And then fifth important takeaway from this trade and commerce ministers meet is Jaipur call for action. Fifth important key takeaway is Jaipur call for action to enhance micro, small and medium enterprises access to information. Now, when we talk about MSMEs, according to Prime Minister, they say MSMEs are the backbone of not only Indian economy, but for global economy. Specifically, when we talk about MSMEs, they account for 60 to 70% of employment. 50% of global GDP is constituted by MSMEs. So empowering MSME is very important, but many number of a time these MSME, they don't know about government schemes, they don't have accessibility of credit, they are not able to take advantage of favorable legislations, and because many number of a times they don't have information about legislations, schemes and all such kind of a thing. So all information needs to be accessible to MSMEs. This was taken up in Jaipur call for action to enhance MSMEs. Okay, MSMEs access to information. So this is something that has happened, and for fulfillment of these particular 5 goals, what will happen? International Trade Center, WTO, UNCTAD, okay, they are also have been asked that they need to upgrade their data portal, okay, so that information is freely available. Now, article is also talking about this particular thing, that if India is really serious and if India wants to really provide level playing field to MSME, what we can do, we need to give some special incentive to our MSMEs industry. Now, if you can remember, I have discussed it multiple number of times, production linked incentive scheme, production linked incentive scheme, in which for incremental sale, additional incentive 2 to 5% of incentive is given. Okay, for example, last year my sale was 100 crore, this year my sale is 200 crore, 400 crore rupees. Last year 100, this year 200 crore, so 100 crore rupees difference, extra sale I have made. On that, incremental incentive will be provided. Right now these incentives are available to big corporates, but they are also, specifically they focus on big corporates, but they should also to be focused on MSME, and bureaucratic red tape needs to be removed. So these are all suggestions that have been given in this particular article. Moving on to next article. Okay, 41.1% MG Narega workers out of Aadhar based wage system. Now, what this article is actually talking about, this article will take up with respect to social justice, GS paper number 2, critical assessment of the social justice schemes, critical assessment of social justice schemes. Now, so first of all, let me give you some basic background information. So basically, the Ministry of Rural Development in past has provided that compulsorily we will enforce this particular thing, that no cash payments are being made to workers working on MG Narega site. MG Narega stands for Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, under which 100 days of minimum employment is to be provided to every household for unskilled work. Okay, so right, and earlier the payments could be made in cash form, but now Ministry of Rural Development has provided that payments would be made through Aadhar based payment system. Aadhar based payment system. Now, what is this Aadhar based payment system? Let's understand this particular thing. So basically, guys, number one, suppose I am a MG Narega worker, I need to have a bank account. Number one, I need to have a bank account. Okay, now that particular bank account should be seeded with my Aadhar number. That bank account should be seeded my Aadhar number, and my Aadhar number should be seeded with my job card. My Aadhar number should be seeded with my job card. These 3 things need to be there. Now, suppose I had worked at a particular site. On my job card, my Aadhar number will be written. Now, that Aadhar number in backend is seeded with a bank account. So just by Aadhar number, payment can directly be made in my bank account. So this is Aadhar based payment system. In this particular thing, Aadhar details should also be mapped with National Payment Corporation of India, as well as the bank should also be mapped with the NPCI database. So number one, bank account and Aadhar should be seeded, Aadhar and job card should be seeded. Then this Aadhar information also to be seeded with the National Payment Corporation of India's database, and bank is also to be connected with the NPCI's database. Then just by Aadhar number, directly payment in bank account can be made. Now it has been provided by Ministry of Rural Development that compulsorily now all the payments should be made through Aadhar based payment system. But according to some data, it is being said that out of 26 crore job card holders in India, 41.1% they are not eligible for Aadhar based payment system. Why? Either they don't have bank account altogether, or if they have bank account, their bank account is not seeded with Aadhar, or their Aadhar and job card are not seeded. So at one or other point there is some issue, and because of this particular issue, this cannot be done. Okay, and according to some some analysis, for example, an analysis has been done by a non-profit organization, LibTech India, and as per this particular analysis, they say that there are large number of people whose Aadhar and bank account or Aadhar and job card are not seeded, and in this capacity, in states such as Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan, 1.2 crore people will not be eligible for receiving the payments. Okay, and when we talk about Northeast, in Northeast condition is more bad. According to this LibTech India report, they say that in Assam, 61.2% are not eligible to receive ABPS payment, and in Nagaland, 80% lack an ABPS, Aadhar based payment system account. So these people will not be able to receive their wages. Now, according to government, they provide that this is necessary step that we have to do. They say this particular thing that by this, leakages many number of times, when you are giving money in cash, there is a possibility that Mr. X worked and payment went to Mr. Y. Corruption, leakages chances are there. That will be reduced, and then speedy payment can be done. Rejections will be reduced. Okay, but this particular thing has also been questioned. For example, according to LibTech India, they had surveyed the payments that have been made using ABPS and payments that have been made normally without the ABPS, and they found this particular thing: 36% of transactions were processed in 7 days for normal account payment, and 39% were for ABPS. So much difference is not there according to LibTech. But guys, anyhow, technology upgradation, technology usage, if technology is not excluding, okay, if technology is not excluding, then technology's integration is always desirable. Okay, this is all about it. However, one thing I want to tell you, till now government has given 4 extensions, and now government has said that no extension will be given. Final deadline is coming on August 31. However, collateral damage need not to be there. That particular thing needs to be ensured. Moving on. The Election Commission autonomy in the crosshairs. This particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2 polity. GS paper number 2 polity constitutional reforms. Okay. Now, first of all, let me give you a brief idea about this particular article. So basically, guys, what happened in 2022? Supreme Court of India, it provided that we need to reform the process of appointment of Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner. Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioners, they are responsible for the most important constitutional office of India, Election Commission. Every democracy depends on free and fair election. So therefore, these people need to be objective and neutral people. As of now, how Chief Election Commissioner, Election Commissioner, they are appointed directly by President. And President, you all know, act on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers at the center. So in a way, directly government is interfering in appointment of Chief Election Commissioner and Election Commissioner. So Supreme Court recommended this particular thing, that appointment of Election Commissioner and Chief Election Commissioner should be done on the basis of a committee. And this particular committee, as per Supreme Court, should have, number one, should have Prime Minister, should have the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, and if recognized leader of opposition is not there in the Lok Sabha, leader of single largest party, and the third should be Chief Justice of India. So one member from judiciary, one member from opposition, and one member from government. These three members will decide who will be the chief election commissioner and election commissioner. This reform were recommended, and it was recommended by unanimous judgment of a 5-judge bench. So very less number of times such happens that all the judges are saying one particular thing. Okay. Now what happened on that particular line, government introduced a bill in Rajya Sabha, and they have provided a collegium, a body for appointment of CEC and EC. But government bill is different from what Supreme Court provided. Government bill provided that this committee will contain 3 people. Number 1 is Prime Minister. It's same as Supreme Court said. Number 2, leader of opposition, same as Supreme Court said. And number 3, there will be a union cabinet minister which is nominated by PM. Union cabinet minister nominated by PM. Now this is a difference. Here Supreme Court said that it needs to be CJI, Chief Justice of India, but they are talking about Union Cabinet Minister appointed by PM. So out of 3, 2 people are from government side. So automatically what government want, that person will be appointed. Now article says that in past multiple committees have pointed out that we need to reform selection process for CEC and EC. And what are the names of these committees? Just use these names of committees in answer. VM Tarkunde Committee, Dinesh Goswami Committee, second ARC report 4, second ARC report 4. Okay, all these Tarkunde Committee, Dinesh Goswami Committee, second ARC committee have provided that election process of CEC and EC needs to be made more representative. And earlier there is also one more committee, that is a suggestion made by former Chief Election Commissioner, that is BB Tandon. And the former CEC BB Tandon provided that there should be a 7-member committee. Supreme Court provided 3-member committee. BB Tandon provided 7-member committee, which will have Prime Minister, Lok Sabha Speaker, leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, leader of opposition in Rajya Sabha, law minister, deputy chairperson of Rajya Sabha, judge of Supreme Court nominated by CJI. They should appoint, but that has clearly not happened. And even the 3-member body that is being that is being floated by government, they have clear majority of government. So it is being said that today when we talk about election commission, it is responsible for handling elections in which 900 million voters participate. Okay, 11 million personals are there. So all that particular their fate, the transparency in elections is dependent on election commission. So therefore members of it needs to be selected only on objective criteria. Moving on to next article, gig workers bill, reading between the lines. Now this particular article again we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2, social justice. Okay, now this particular article guys is talking about gig workers bill. Gig workers bill that is presented recently in Rajasthan. Now first of all, 2 words you need to understand, what are the gig workers and what are the platform workers. So basically guys, gig workers are those workers which don't have any permanent employment with one employer. They work on per contract, per project basis. Those all people are gig workers. Platform workers, today gig work is being found through platform. For example, there are these platform Uber, Ola, Swiggy, Zomato. So a rider on Ola, or let's say a rider on Zomato, that particular rider will be paid per order wise. Okay, he delivers one order, per order he will be given some money. Today a person who is delivering food on Swiggy, Zomato, tomorrow he can drive a cab on Ola, Uber. Okay, no permanent employee-employer relation is there. They are working per assignment basis. And as the gig work is being found from platform, so we also used this as a platform economy, gig economy. Now in past many reports have come that these gig workers, platform workers are being exploited. Long working hours are there. They are not given any social security. So therefore Rajasthan government has introduced Rajasthan platform based gig workers registration and welfare bill 2023. Now the article talks about this particular thing, that in this bill there are some issues. First of all, it is good that at least they have come out with a bill and they will establish a example for other states, but some problems are there, issues are there. What are issues in this particular bill? So number one issue is the definition of gig worker and aggregator. Definition of gig worker and aggregator. So basically it defines gig worker. Who is a gig worker? Gig worker is a person who performs work or participates in a work engagement and earns from such activities outside the traditional employer-employee relationship. I also told you the same thing. And who is an aggregator? Swiggy, Zomato, they are called as aggregator. Who are aggregator? Aggregator as a digital intermediary who are providing a platform where they can come, they can do the work and they can earn some money. Now understand this particular thing. Here we see this particular thing, that aggregators, they are not being treated as employer. The definition is far from clear and binding in treating the aggregator as employer. The treaty does not treat aggregators and employers. And guys, when we talk about all the labor laws in India, they put an obligation on employer, not aggregator. So if you are not defining aggregator as employer, all the protection that is to be given by employer, they will not be applicable on aggregator. Second issue, they also say this particular thing, that they have not defined gig worker as employee. To understand this thing, in labor law, protections are available to employee and protections are to be given by employer. So labor laws in India, they use word employer and employee. But you have not connected digital intermediary with employer and you have not connected these gig workers with the employee. So how basically workers can claim their entitlements? That cannot happen. So point is that the aggregators will continue to be protected from compliances. They do need not to comply. They need not to give any responsibility, and even employee cannot claim that particular thing. After that, the next issue that comes here is that basically the bill talks about creating a database of gig workers where everyday information will be there, that okay, on this date a worker worked on which platform, okay, on this date a worker worked on which platform, this date worker worked on which platform. This particular data will be there. Now many number of times we find this particular thing, that a worker is working at 2 or more aggregator. For example, in a day a person is driving the cab at Ola and at the same time he has taken some rides on Uber also. Now when some benefit is to be given to this particular employee, basically what will happen, the Ola will say Uber should pay, Uber will say that Ola should pay. So many number of times these workers, they can work at 2 aggregators also, and when this particular data will be provided, they will dispute. Then the next issue that comes here is that basically the bill also provides a welfare board and creating a welfare board and welfare fund. Okay, now understand is this the next thing is that it not categorically defines that what actually the social security is. Now we use the word social security, but in social security what? Pension benefit, accident benefit, health benefit. So exactly what a social security is, okay, and how this particular fund will be operated, that is not being provided. Okay, now this particular welfare board, it has gig worker representatives which are there, but at the same time is that equal bargaining power will not be there. The representatives of gig workers, they cannot say a lot, they might not have a strong voice in front of the powerful representatives of these platforms. So all these issues are there. However, no need to go too much in detail as of now. Why? Because guys, this is a state specific legislation. However, good, because a legislation has come. Then moving on, India and the hurdle of convincing the voter. Now this article, guys, frankly doesn't contain much of a substance. What is this India? So India is India stands for the Indian National Development Inclusive Alliance. India National Developmental Inclusive Alliance. Development Inclusive Alliance. Okay, so this is an alliance made by the opposition parties against the BJP for upcoming 2024 election. So the article is just talking about that when we talk about any election alliance, it also need to have a chemistry. Now when we talk about this India alliance, the political parties that are there, these political parties, they had rivalries. They were earlier they were political rivals of each other, and because of this history of hostilities, how they will show chemistry to voter, that once they are elected, they can rule congenially. So they have to convince to voter also that within them the chemistry is there, only then they can take over BJP. Okay, and there needs to be well coordinated campaign, all that thing. Guys, again, the political articles are not important for our examination. However, I have given a brief summary, only that highlighted point. Beyond that, you don't need to go too much in this particular article. So this article just talk about that India alliance needs to focus on this, that generic advices have been given. So being a political article, no need to go too much in detail. If you want to read it for leisure purpose, you can just read it in simple words I have provided, but no need to go too much in detail. Fine. And then we have mains practice question. So question reads, there has been attempt to push the Election Commission of India towards further governmental control, strengthening a perception about a democratic weakening. Critically analyze. So here analysis of that particular bill you have to do. So this will be for GS paper number 2, 10 marker question. So that is all guys about it. And with this we come to an end to the today's analysis. That is all. I hope you have understood and you have liked the video. Thank you so much.